From the panic room at the Alamo, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men who won't talk about the time they reenacted the Russian roulette scene from The Deer Hunter, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
I'm good at reenactments, especially those kind. Corey, that's a pretty edgy intro. Who sent that one in, if you don't mind telling us?
That was brought to you by Stuart Moncure. Stuart Moncure cures all your ills. That's the biggest joke you'll ever hear from me.
I had to censor Corey.
Corey's a dirty, dirty boy.
Oh, Mark, it's...
Did you like my cookies?
I liked your cookies. I
Well,
did.
thank you.
They were nice. They were very good.
They were peanut butter and chocolate.
You're developing very fine domestic skills. You make someone a lovely wife. It's funny. I had a conversation today with a friend of mine who's just back from Shanghai. He's an entrepreneur. He's got some kind of plant that manufactures something over there. I don't really know what. And he was just asking me how things have been in the movie business. And it was funny because I said to him, 20 years ago it was all about VHS, and 10 years ago it was all about DVD. And not too many years ago, it was all about Blu-ray and HD DVD. And today, it's about VOD and streaming and Blu-ray and DVD and a million other and ultraviolet and digital copy. And it's sort of all just going to hell. I don't know if all of this is a good thing. That if everyone wants a movie collection, everyone wants access, but I don't think anybody really knows what is going to be the standard.
I don't think people want a movie collection. I think people want access.
They do want access, but a lot of people want a collection. I want a collection.
I think the older you are, the more you want a collection. I think, right now, the only collection that kids have in terms of packaged media is video games.
Yeah.
Because you really can't download, you can, but you really can't download a whole lot of, huge PlayStation 3 video games. You're not downloading Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Well. A lot of people still buy them. But when it comes to music and when it comes to TV and movies, this generation is used to seeing it online.
I agree.
And used to getting it for free. They're just used to it.
Kaleidoscape, though, got a reprieve on their on that court order that was going to shut them down. So that's interesting because Kaleidoscape basically isn't doing anything different or anything differently than from what the studios want to do when they have you go into Target and burn your movie to the cloud. It's the Kaleidoscape just gives you the cloud to put in your garage. So I don't see what the problem is. But anyway, the studios don't like it.
Look, I think when you buy a Blu-ray,
you
should be able to do whatever you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to burn it, rip it, put it in the cloud, put it in the cumulonimbus.
Wedge it between your butt cheeks.
Put it on your iPad.
Wedge it between your butt cheeks.
Wedge it between your butt cheeks.
That's right.
If that's what you like to do, put it on your iPhone.
Sure.
Put it on your PlayStation Vita, whatever.
Yeah.
You buy it, you can do whatever you want with it. That's what I think. And I'm hoping
I agree.
And that's really the only way. That's the only way that Blu-ray will be saved.
True.
Is if you let people buy it and do whatever they want with it.
Got to do it.
Because the thing with the cloud is that don't forget the cloud doesn't have all the extras that Blu-ray has, and Blu-ray looks great.
Mark, we have some good.
You're ignoring me.
I am ignoring you. We have some good television. We have some Vox Box today. We have two Vox boxes.
Two
that were sent in. Two good Vox boxes. If you want to send us voice emails or voice Vox Box recordings, you can do so at gods@digigods.com, gods@digigods.com. Mark, I'm going to blow through some television right now, okay? It's a lot of British television that you don't really care about.
Good. I'm going to go on Match.com.
So you go on Match. I thought it was J-Date. What happened to J-Date?
I belong to both.
Oh, you belong to both. Very good. All right, fine. If you like Waking the Dead, series, the complete season 6. Normally they call them series in the UK, but this is a complete season 6. This is a British series. BBC, really kind of basically British version of Cold Case, but it's really really intense, way better, and I think it's a pretty sharp series, really nicely done. Kind of warming to it. The Song of Lunch, also from BBC. This was originally aired on Masterpiece.
Wait a minute, is that really what it's called?
The Song of Lunch.
Give me that.
Why?
Alan
Rickman and Emma Thompson, real life companions.
No. You realize that's my dream. My dream is to have a band that replaces the word love
with lunch.
With the word lunch.
I know. Yeah.
It's called Lunch Hour.
Yeah.
And it would have songs like we'd play Can't Buy Me Love, but it'd be called Can't Buy Me Lunch.
Okay.
And
Well-
it's a dream of mine to have a band that replaces the word love with the word lunch.
Well, this is lovely because it all takes place in Soho. It's based actually on a poem, believe it or not, and it's a perfect casting. It's about an old book editor, and anyway, I mean they used to be lovers, and they aren't anymore, and it's perfect because Rickman and Emma Thompson have been together forever, and I part of me still wishes that she was with Kenneth Branagh because I really like them,
Wait.
but
You mean really they're an item?
They have been for like 15 years.
They have not.
Are you kidding me? You didn't know that?
I swear to effing God, I had no idea.
Really?
Alan Rickman, who I always thought was gay, and Emma Thompson are an item.
Okay.
Are they married?
No. No, hang on a second.
Honestly, this blows my mind. I didn't know that.
What you work for E, and this it has escaped you?
Okay. E doesn't talk about Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson.
I guess.
Okay. Is Alan Rickman Justin Bieber? Is Emma Thompson Selena Gomez? No. I thought Alan Rickman was gay.
No.
Really?
Yes.
So they're like a.
My gosh.
That's not true. You made that up.
I'm dead serious.
I swear to Christ, I had no idea. That blows my mind.
Okay.
Totally blows my mind.
All right, there it is.
I'm gonna look that up. I don't believe you. I think you're wrong.
Look, also BBC Volume 10 of MI5. I really love this stuff. I think it's super cool. We don't have a great spy show. We don't have anything resembling a great spy show on television in America. MI5, MI6, both absolutely terrific shows. So this is season 10. Really good cast, too. It's just great acting. And then this is a really cool gem. This has been released a couple of times before I, Claudius. I keep waiting for them to do I, Claudius in Blu-ray. Not that it's really going to gain a lot from Blu-ray, to be honest. It just wasn't shot well enough in the first place to warrant it, but they should do it anyway, just for those of us that want it. This is the complete I, Claudius, the complete series, once again on 5 discs in a nice compact set from Acorn. The original one was a real shelf buster. It was just thick and huge, and this is literally 5 discs crammed into what is essentially one keep case. I'm just amazed at how they do this. So this is about as tight as you're going to get this. This is the 35th anniversary edition. I cannot believe it's been 35 years. This is probably the greatest assemblage of legendary British actors you will ever see in a single production. I mean, it really is just dazzling. John Hurt and Derek Jacobi and Brian Blessed, who I just adore, on and on and on and on. Patrick Stewart's in here. It's just, it's breathtaking. You just can't believe it. So Transfer is basically pretty much the same. Just great drama, great acting. Murder Investigation Team, Series 2. This was originally aired on A&E, and this is, more great British procedural stuff, which always seems to feel much more real than their American counterparts. Also in set 2 from Acorn is Single-Handed. This is a pretty cool show. This takes place in Ireland, and it's kind of a Dirty Harry-ish type thing. It's like if Dirty Harry were just one cop and out in the countryside, I guess, and if he were Irish. And speaking with a brogue, how you doing over there, Mark? You picking anybody up?
No, I swear I'm checking on the net right now to confirm that Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson.
Have you confirmed it?
Well, you know what? There's very little about it, considering they're both British, and the British tabloid you'd think is they would put that in the lead every time they do a story together. Now, Huffington Post says husband and wife actors Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson are to star in a BBC production, but I don't see it anywhere else.
Well, there you go.
It's not on his wiki page. Let me check her wiki page.
Meanwhile, I'll just keep going here. Season 5 of Dalziel and Pascoe. This is a mystery show. Good pairing. Again, it all kind of centers around the actors, and really good acting in this show. It's not brilliant or anything. Judge John Deed. This is season 5, which includes only 4 episodes because that's how they roll over there in the UK. Judge John Deed is kind of cool. It's it's not really like any of the Judge or Law and Order type shows. It's very heavily courtroom oriented here.
Alan Rickman is not even in her wiki page, and
because
he is not in.
They wear powdered wigs in the UK still.
Huh?
The judges, they wear powdered wigs.
I swear this is just not true.
Well, you just keep on digging. Roy Clark's Last of the Summer Wine, vintage 1991. We have talked about the million other seasons of this series, this very, very funny sitcom. previously, and it honestly, this thing just ran forever, and for all I know, it might still be running. Anyway, Roy Clark, real legend in British television. Very, very funny show from the 1991 season. Steve Coogan Live. This is a 2-disc set featuring Coogan, who's very much an acquired taste that I think is quite funny, but this is him basically doing all of his great live stuff. This is almost like the complete live collection, and it's pretty great. Again, not for all tastes. He can be a little bit out on the edge, but it's not bad. Not exactly my favorite comic, but I do enjoy him when he's really, really on.
Hang on. In an article dated July 22nd, 2009, it says that Emma Thompson is married to a guy named Greg Wise.
Yeah.
As my Safari just quit.
Okay, well, I don't know what that means.
That means that she's not married to Alan Rickman. She's married to a guy named Greg Wise.
I don't know what that means. Mark, Matt
Alan
Lucas.
Rickman's got to be. I'm looking that up, too. Alan Rickman gay. I'm doing it right now.
Matt Lucas and David Williams. Love these guys. You know why? Computer says no. I'm the only gay in the village. Little Britain just slays me. One of the funniest things I've ever seen. And they got a new show, Season 1 of Come Fly With Me. And is it as funny as Little Britain? You know what? Quite nearly. Quite nearly. This is all airport-centered. And so they're not. It's not as quite as broad. They're not going as many different directions, and it really is quite insanely politically incorrect. Very, very funny. Really worth checking out. That's Come Fly With Me, Season 1. If you like Little Britain, you're just going to go nuts for this. We got
Greg
Yes.
Wise has been married to Emma Thompson, who played Eleanor in Sense and Sensibility since 2003.
Yes.
They have a daughter born in 1999 and a Rwandan adopted son.
Okay.
Well, she's not married to Alan Rickman.
Well, but
she's married to some guy named Greg Wise.
Okay, I don't know. Then I'm confused.
Because when you said that Alan Rickman was in a relationship with Emma Thompson, that blew my mind. Yeah. I thought he's gay. I didn't know they had even met.
Well, you found something that corroborated that they have been in a relationship.
No, I haven't.
Didn't you? You just found something that said Alan Rickman and...
Well, do you know what? There was a couple of...
this is all very confusing. Listeners, we are leaning on you, especially those of you in the UK.
Yeah, really.
Even on the European continent.
Exactly.
Just figure this out for us, because we're all confused now. This is rocking my world.
There are a couple of wiki pages or ask.coms that say, are Alan Rickman and Emma Thompson married?
Dreadful.
But the answer is never yes. It's always no. Maybe they dated before 2003.
Weird. Okay. We got a ton of Doctor Who here. Blow through this real quickly. From the Tom Baker years in the 70s and the early 80s is the Robots of Death special edition. Cheesy video, bad costumes, but Tom Baker is always thoroughly enjoyable. Peter Davison, who really has aged kind of in both a noble and scary way. This is the Caves of Androzani special edition. This is from the early 80s, right after Tom Baker took a hike. And also very, very cheesy costumes, but another fine actor who somehow manages to make it all work. Out of the special edition realm is the another Tom Baker, The Face of Evil, which is just absurdly cheesy. This just almost feels like some kind of a bad, like a bad caveman movie, really. From the Patrick Troughton years in the 1960s. Have there been any Patrick Troughton Doctor Who releases yet? This is like the first one I think I've seen.
Oh my God, Patrick Troughton! He was my favorite Doctor Who.
This is the Tomb of the Cybermen special edition, and the Cybermen always cracked me up because it was like the cheesiest robot-looking outfit imaginable. Worst costumes ever. Truly the worst costumes ever. Anyway, this is pretty primitive. This is really, really primitive. It's for Doctor Who devotees only. The John Pertwee years, that is the great John Pertwee, father of Sean Pertwee, from 1970 to 1974. This is the Three Doctors special edition, which is actually quite famous. Troughton is in this, as is Pertwee, as is, who's the third guy? I always forget who the third guy is. William Hartnell. Anyway, all three guys who had sort of been the old crusty doctors up to that point. And you know what? It's cheesy, but it's for Doctor Who fans, it's legendary. And then the more recent Doctor would be crystallized in this beautiful Blu-ray, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, which is the 2011 Christmas special. And you know what? They've really upped the ante on the production value now, and Matt Smith now plays the Doctor, and he's okay. I just don't. I wish we had like an older Doctor. Why does the Doctor have to be a young bohunk now? Anyway, so very, very nice Blu-ray there. We've also got The Fades Season 1. This was also aired on BBC America. And this is, the basically a horror television series courtesy of the Brits, which means it's not that horrifying. It's a little bit like, Damnation Alley for television.
Ooh, I love Damnation Alley.
Yeah, I know you do.
Big scorpions.
And then Trem, the complete second season from HBO. This ain't doing so well, I don't think, is it, Mark?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this much. You realize later this month I'm going to New Orleans for the very first time.
Are you really?
I'm going to Jazz Fest.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm very excited.
Well, that's nice.
Never been to New Orleans.
Yeah, that's very nice.
All I care about is the food.
You know what? That's the food and the music.
That's what I hear the food there is outrageous.
Yeah. Well, anyway, as Mark has implied, this takes place in New Orleans, and this particular season is a year after Katrina, and it's fine, I guess. It's a really good cast. Melissa Leo's in this, Kim Dickens, it's David Morse. I mean, really some great actors in this, but I don't kind of see where it's coming from. Happily Divorced is a very peculiar TV land show. This is season 1, starring Fran Drescher and John Michael Higgins. And it's kind of like he's now gay, and they used to be married, and it's supposed to be funny. And I think Fran Drescher kind of is...
You know what? Her time is over.
It's really over.
But you know what? That's the whole point of TV land, like that network. They're always carting out these old stars from the 80s and giving them shows. Betty White, Valerie Bertinelli.
I know. Well, the guys who produced Prison Break can't leave well enough alone, so they had to come up with Breakout Kings, and this is the complete first season of Breakout Kings from 20th Century Fox, and not so much. The whole Prison Break thing has really already been done, and even if you're kind of trying to throw a Houdini spin on this a little bit, I don't know. It still doesn't really quite work as either a prison show or a procedural, but maybe it'll catch on. Designing Women, the complete 6th season. This is the one that introduced Jan Hooks and Julia Duffy in one very, very misbegotten season. I like Designing Women. I enjoyed it at the time. I didn't love it. Jan Hooks certainly was really great on Saturday Night Live, and Julia Duffy was lovely on Newhart, but this just doesn't really work. It just kind of screws everything up. So, I don't know. A show that was already, so-so, fine, okay. Great Expectations will always be basically the David Lean film. We're going to talk about David Lean a little bit later in the show. But that didn't stop them from doing a new UK production of Great Expectations that is nicely done, but emotionally lacking, is probably the best way to say it. This is very, very professional. Brian Kirk directed the hell out of it, does a great job, some great performances. Gillian Anderson, not the person I would ever see cast in the part that she plays here. Ray Winstone, quite good, but you know what? Ultimately, it just doesn't feel right. Doesn't have that thing. And then lastly, Torchwood, Miracle Day. This is on Blu-ray. If you like Torchwood, which is, of course, a Doctor Who spin-off series, you will just go completely nuts for this. Bill Pullman is on this. And it's a very, very well-done show. It still, though, kind of feels a little bit like a very high-tech, highly sophisticated version of Night Stalker to me, which is the way a lot of those British shows feel. So anyway, there we go. Mark, blew through television. Done.
You did. Rock and roll.
Yeah. How do you like that?
Wait, Major.
Okay, no more dating.
No more dating.
No more dating. No
However,
more online dating.
We do have more Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm choking in it. I am swimming in these horrible DVDs. Make it stop. And I love this show. Although, you know what? One of the most famous ones is The Wild World of Batwoman. And that is so famous and so beloved by MST3Kers that it's getting its own single disc. from Shout Factory. So it is a good one. The Wild World of Batwoman is a good one. It's a classic one. Everyone loves it, and it includes one of the funniest shorts they did called Cheating. So I would definitely at least rent this if you're a Mystery Science Theater. Definitely go ahead and buy it. The Wild World of Batwoman. The other one, the other single discer, although I have to say I wish they would start doing these on Blu-ray. Girl in Gold Boots. Funny, not as funny as Batwoman, but still good stuff. I would probably pass on Girl in Gold Boots. I would definitely go with Batwoman. It's one of the funniest ones they ever did.
Awesome.
That's what I say.
I will not pay attention to them.
I know you won't.
We have some compilation sets here, and there are a number of these. The two that I found to be probably most worthwhile, I have to say, is the Renee Zellweger 4-film collection and the Gwyneth Paltrow 4-film collection, and I'll tell you why. The Renee Zellweger collection, these come to us from Lionsgate, who is looking for any way to possibly maximize their libraries. And since they are distributing Miramax films as well, they're kind of taking their library titles and the Miramax library titles, and they're mashing it all together and seeing what they can get out of it. Now, you can kind of tell the difference here. Mark, which one of these is the Lionsgate movie, and which are the Miramax movies? Bridget Jones' Diary, Chicago, Cold Mountain, and New in Town.
Oh, that's Miramax.
It's basically Lionsgate looking at New in Town and thinking, geez, how are we going to squeeze a dime out of this? I know Miramax has a bunch of actually good Renee Zellweger movies. Let's just hope no one notices and try to squeeze a few pennies out of this. Bridget Jones' Diary is terrific. Cold Mountain, not so terrific, but she's terrific in it. Chicago, a film that won Best Picture. I can't stand it, but that doesn't matter. Those are all real movies. New in Town is just, it's catastrophic. And there you go. That's the one they threw on here. But you know what? I mean, it's a good collection of movies. If you like Renee Zellweger, it's a good collection. And then Gwyneth Paltrow gets a much more nuanced assemblage of films here. Shakespeare in Love, Emma, Bounce, and View from the Top. Now, View from the Top is a horrible, horrible, stupid movie about stewardesses that just never, ever should have been made. I don't know why she's in it. Bounce is an interesting film. And Emma is a terrific film, and Shakespeare in Love is a brilliant film. But what's interesting about these collection is that you really, this collection of 4 films, is you really see Gwyneth Paltrow at her best and her worst, and in the deepest extension of her range. British accent, American accent, all over the place. Every period. Quite good. So both of these are interesting because both of these actresses are American. Both do great British accents. And if you're a fan of one, you're probably a fan of the other because they are America's sweethearts.
You know, that's what they call me, America's sweetheart.
I know. I've heard that.
You know, those guys at the Flickr Alley, they're no dummies. They saw the Oscar-winning success of Martin Scorsese's Hugo, and they decided to release a beautiful steel case edition of A Trip to the Moon. Now, A Trip to the Moon is billed as, on the cover, A Trip to the Moon in its original 1902 colors.
Nice.
Now, I know what you're saying. 1902? Color? That makes no sense.
Hand-tinted.
However,
if
back
you watch
in the day...
Hugo, they talk about that in Hugo.
Do they?
Yeah, there's like a whole hand-tinting thing. Yeah.
That's right. That's how movies had color back then. Literally, they would have mostly women would sit like in a sweat, practically a sweatshop environment, and they would hand tint movies. So really, movies were color almost from the beginning. And this is in its original 1902 colors. The Blu-ray also includes a great documentary by Serge Bromberg and Eric Lang of Lobster Films called The Extraordinary Voyage, and it's all about the life of Georges Méliès, the director of the film. And really, Méliès is kind of the, as you know from watching Hugo, the first cinematic fantasist. He was the first cinematic science fiction guy. He did a lot of those sorts of films. Flickr Alley has released some Blu-rays of Méliès's work in the past, and it's great stuff. I really liked it a lot. It's a terrific Blu-ray. It's in a very nice metal steel case, they call it.
Yeah.
So
it's nice.
It's good looking. And you know what? This is exactly what Blu-ray is meant for. It is meant for people who love film and they want to collect the great films of history. This is a very highly recommended steel case Blu-ray from the good folks at Flickr Alley.
Mark, you know what is not going to be beloved among film lovers and cinephiles?
The Search for One-Eyed Jimmy.
How'd you know?
because I can see the back of the box.
My goodness, honestly. I love Kino. I love Kino probably more than any company next to Criterion. Kino is terrific, but I don't know what happened here. Really, I don't. This movie was made in the 1990s, like early 90s, 92, 93. And it's thoroughly unfunny and uncharming. I know it's got kind of a cult following, but it's sort of like everybody who wasn't working on a Sundance film at a given point of time just said, hey, why don't we just get together and just do kind of a really low-budget chase movie, kind of like, Mad, 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 Mad World. I don't get it. It just isn't funny. Anyway, there's a guy in Brooklyn who's disappeared, and this weird ragtag bunch of people join the posse to look for him. Just so you know how weird this is, John Turturro plays a guy named Disco Bean, but it's a full-on independent thing from that era. This guy Sam Henry Cass, who, to my own, I don't think he's ever done anything else. This has got Jennifer Beal, Steve Buscemi, Samuel L. Jackson, John Turturro, Nick Turturro, Sam Rockwell. It's like a who's who of independent films at the time. It's friggin' weird. And then we also have a movie here called Angel's Crest, which I have gone back and forth on, I got to be honest. This is a very, very effective Blu-ray from Magnolia. But the movie is almost needlessly bleak, but I try not to be too hard about that, because movies are entitled to be bleak, and certainly some of my favorite movies are really, really bleak. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about The Piano, which is a really bleak movie, but it's a wonderful movie. The idea here is that somewhere in the Rockies, this guy has... how do I put this? He has left his son in,
the bathroom? In the men's room at the train station?
Kind of. So he leaves it. Well, basically, he leaves his kid in the car, and the kid dies. So,
what? You just gave away the beginning.
I know. Anyway, but the whole it winds up sort of being more about the effect that this has on the town, and more than anything that's kind of like getting to the bottom of it and what really happened. But it's, you know what, it's just so depressing, and everybody is just so downbeat and downtrodden in it, and even Jeremy Piven doesn't look like he's having any fun. Elizabeth McGovern looks like she's 85 years old, and it's really unfortunate. But it's a lovely Blu-ray.
Also on Blu-ray is, Wade, there was a time when National Lampoon meant something. It was a brilliant counterculture magazine. They made some great films, including Vacation with Chevy Chase. Now, National Lampoon sort of drifting. They're drifting as
Animal
a brand.
House.
They're drifting as Animal House. That's right. They're drifting as a brand. They're drifting as a comedy bellwether. Well, now you've got National Lampoon coming out with a movie called The Legend of Awesomest Maximus. The Legend of Awesomest Maximus. This is a kind of a Greek 300-y Trojan War spoof thing. It's got a couple laughs, but not really worth it. It has a C-list cast that includes Will Sasso, Ian Ziering, Christiana Loken, and Rip Torn, which is very sad, the fact that Rip Torn is in this movie.
I know. It's bad.
This is on Blu-ray for some reason and DVD. I do not recommend it. There's plenty of other great comedies you could be watching. In fact, to me, 300 was funny enough. I don't even know why you have to spoof it.
I agree.
Why do you have to spoof it?
We saw 300 together on that horrible, horrible IMAX screen in Marina del Rey. That was a nightmare.
Did we?
Yeah. It was like being eye raped. It was awful.
I have no memory of seeing that. It has been expunged from my memory.
Meeting Spencer is another one of those movies that just simply should never, ever, ever have been made.
Because it has a gerund title.
I love
a gerund title. Wade, what is a gerund title? Tell everyone.
Anything that ends with an ing.
Being Flynn.
Yeah, being there. That's a good one, though.
That's a good one.
Anyway, no, Meeting Spencer is another bomb this week from Kino. I'm so sorry for them. I don't know what's going on. This is a horrible, 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 boring monstrosity of a film. It's just dreadful. And I love Jeffrey Tambor. I adore Jeffrey Tambor. I think he's just one of the great character actors of all time.
Are you ready? Here's some more gerund titles. Because no one cares about this movie.
I know.
So we'll talk about gerund titles.
Yeah.
Regarding Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling Minnesota.
Oh, gee.
Finding Forrester.
Oh, boy.
Being Human.
Ugh.
Leaving Normal.
Oh.
Pushing Tin.
Oh, wow.
Saving Private Ryan. Wrestling Ernest Hemingway.
Gosh, there are a lot of dogs in there.
There really are.
Ugh. anyway.
And then recently, there's of course being Flynn, Saving Silverman.
Oh, gee.
Right.
This is painful.
Chasing Amy, Leaving Las Vegas.
Here's the bottom line here.
Driving Miss Daisy.
That's a good one.
Finding Neverland, I love.
Okay.
Being John Malkovich, I also love. But those are gerund titles.
Jeffrey Tambor is a Broadway bigwig, and he's kind of slimy, and he thinks he's really going to get the next big Broadway hit going. And this whole thing kind of does a My Dinner with Andre bit and takes place entirely in Frankie and Johnny's Steakhouse. And it's just tedious and boring and manipulative, and it feels like a staged play, it's almost like a one-act play that just goes on way too long. It is so trying. I don't know what the deal is. It's on Blu-ray and on DVD. I just see no reason to watch it on either one of these formats. It is a painful film. It's a painful film, Mark.
So you're saying it's painful?
Yep.
You know, Wade, we have a Vox Box coming up later.
Yes,
Very
we do. In just
that.
a few minutes, Vox Box. But first, Mark,
By the way, this week I remember the Vox Box theme song, which I wrote myself.
You'd better.
Wade, right now on this is one of the Blu-rays of the week. Although there is a bigger Blu-ray. Did we get Chinatown?
Yes, we did. Don't get ahead of me here.
Did you get 2 Chinatowns so I can have one?
No.
What? You're mean.
I'm sorry.
Why do you hate me? All right. Well, Chinatown is the big one. That one is an all-time classic. But first, we'll talk about a film that is not an all-time classic, and that is Steven Spielberg's War Horse, which comes out on one of those Blu-rays. It's actually this is a 4-disc set.
I know.
There's a Blu-ray.
It's just not a very good
film. There's a DVD.
It's not a very good film.
There's a digital copy.
It's not a very good film.
There's a whole bunch of bonus crap.
It's not a good film.
I do not think this is a good film. I do not like this film at all. This is basically a movie about a character who you cannot even remotely, empathize with.
Yes.
It's a horse.
I know.
The whole movie's about a horse.
Which in the Broadway play, the Tony-winning amazing play, the horse is a puppet, and people empathize more with the puppet.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think that Spielberg directs this, and it's shot as if he's trying to make this. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The thing with War Horse.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on a play,
yep.
which is kind of based on a children's book.
Yep.
So I understand if he wants to shoot it and make it look like a fable, right? It has certain fabulistic quality to it. I get that. However, ultimately, the movie is too violent and too dark to really be a fable.
I agree.
To me, he wants this to be like a real movie.
Yeah.
And somehow it's kind of caught in the middle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And because it's an omnibus film, you know who the horse really is? The horse is Forrest Gump. As the horse goes through, he meets the Germans, he meets the Americans, he meets the kids,
Another way that I could put it is, it's like I cared more about the violin and the red violin than I care about the horse and War Horse.
I understand.
See?
Anyway, so I did not like this film. I was totally bored by it, and I did not, and the characters in the film, they come and go because the horse meets different people, mostly children. The thing with Spielberg has never been afraid of putting children in peril.
Correct.
When you really think about it, he really has not been afraid of that.
No.
And in this film, each of the vignettes, pretty much all of them, from what I remember, includes some child in peril.
Absolutely.
But in the end, you can't really care because once you care about one kid, you're off to the next vignette.
True.
And the only thing that takes you through the whole movie is the horse, and I don't care about the horse.
I agree.
And I don't understand why the horse is actually smart enough to save another horse. You know that scene where the horse saves another horse or something? I don't get it.
I don't either.
I think this whole thing was just a misfire. It was just a total misfire.
It is unfortunate.
It was nominated for a bunch of Oscars for reasons that we don't understand.
Saving Private Seabiscuit. I credit Ray Green with that. That was Ray's joke. Anyway.
However, here's the thing. Because the movie is very... I don't think the movie... Okay, here's the thing. It is very colorfully shot. I don't like the way it was shot for the style and tone that the movie should have been. But that said, the way it was shot lends itself to beautiful-looking Blu-rays. And this is a very good-looking Blu-ray.
Yep.
I will give it that.
Well, 2 of the actors in War Horse, Mark, were Peter Mullen and Eddie Marsan.
I love Peter Mullen. He's cool.
And I love Eddie Marsan. We love them both. And you know what? As negligible as they are in that, they are absolutely killer in Tyrannosaur.
Love it.
I mean, brilliant.
Love it.
You got to go check out Tyrannosaur. Tyrannosaur is from Strand Releasing. I wish this was on Blu-ray. Dang it. I so wanted this on Blu-ray. This is an amazing film. This was one of my favorite films of last year. This is an emotional sledgehammer. This thing will wipe you out.
Peter Mullen has such like a primal power. That guy is so good always.
This was written and directed by Paddy Considine. Paddy Considine, the nice dad from In America.
Another great movie.
Another great movie. I mean, a great actor. This is his writing and directing debut, and what a terrific filmmaker he is. And by the way, Peter Mullen is a hell of a filmmaker as well. Peter Mullen has, as a director, won the Venice Film Festival with the Magdalene sisters.
That's right.
So, I mean, Peter Mullen is a hell of a director, and so is Paddy Considine. They're both hell of an actors. I mean, that whole Welsh, Yorkshire, Irish, Scottish strain in UK acting is just...
Love it.
It's the best. Anyway, there's really no way to explain this movie. This is about a guy who is totally unstable, a working-class guy played by Peter Mullen, who winds up kind of falling into the life of a woman played by Olivia Colman, who's a shopkeeper, and who's married to a real kind of bipolar psychopath played by Eddie Marsan. And I can't tell you anything else about where the story goes, but it's just unbelievable acting. It is just so pure. This is just pure filmmaking, pure acting, really good stuff, and you could never get a film like this made in the United States. And that's what's so tragic. It's just you get some great actors together and good material, and you make a movie if you're in the UK or anywhere else in the world. I don't know why we can't do that. It's so depressing, Mark. Utterly depressing.
Is that depressing, or is Girls Just Want to Have Fun depressing?
No, that's depressing.
There was a time when Helen Hunt was cute. It's hard to believe, but there was a time when Helen Hunt was cute, and it was around the time of Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Now, Wade, there was a song. It's one of your favorite songs.
Song? Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. You used to love that song. We all loved that song.
I guess.
Come on, it's like the mid-'80s.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper, of course. Anyway, Girls Just Want to Have Fun is from 1985, and it is with Sarah Jessica Parker, Helen Hunt, and Shannon Doherty. Two of those names kind of maintain their integrity in terms of their careers. Yes. The other one, Shannon Doherty, has not. Shannon Doherty, I'm not sure if this is a national spot or a local spot, but Shannon Doherty now does a commercial for some sort of correspondence college or internet college or something.
Yes.
And as in the commercial for this internet college, you see her, what should I study? Should I be a doctor? And there's a shot of her like in a white doctor's coat holding like a stethoscope. It's like how the not so mighty have fallen.
Totally.
Exactly.
I hear you.
This was directed by Alan Meter, who was never a very good director. He did a couple films. Well, although I will give him this. He did do Back to School, which I think is a terrific.
I love Back to School.
Huh? Do you?
I love Back to School.
I think that's a terrific comedy.
First best thing that Robert Downey Jr. ever did.
It's hard. You know what?
Isn't that weird?
If you whip out your Back to School DVD. And you look at Robert Downey Jr. in that film
as Keith Gordon's best friend.
You'll be like, you've got to be kidding me. He is unrecognizably young and goofy, and he looks nothing like he does today.
I know.
Anyway, the point being, Girls Just Want to Have Fun is stupid.
You know what, Mark? We are less than 2 weeks away from the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic.
Really?
Yes, and that's why we have been inundated with Titanicness of late. There is that horrible 3D re-release of Titanic that James Cameron's trying to pocket a few extra bucks off of. And then there is the mini-series that is airing on the Titanic from Julian Fellows of Gosford Park and Downton Abbey fame, who has been dissing James Cameron and doing everything he can to drum up publicity for his miniseries, which is historically much more accurate and not as embarrassing. And this week we have a Criterion Blu-ray release of A Night to Remember, which is the original Titanic movie. By the way, the actual movie Titanic, the old movie Titanic that predates the Cameron film, has been delayed. So I don't know why, but they're going to miss the whole celebration. But A Night to Remember is an awesome film. This was one of the original Criterion releases. It is number 7 in the Criterion catalog, and they have finally put it out on Blu-ray, and man, is it spectacular. Historically, not as accurate as you might want, but you know what? It really is, in terms of capturing sort of the essence of what happened, I think this is a great film. Just really, really good, especially for its day, 1958, which was the same year as Gigi. And what a wonderful, wonderful British film. A lot of good stuff on here. Audio commentary with Don Lynch and Ken Marshall, who wrote a book called Titanic: An Illustrated History. A making-of documentary, which is absolutely awesome. I'm amazed that they've got a great documentary on a film that's this old, frankly, that they had that much archival material. Interviews and even a Swedish television documentary featuring interviews with Titanic survivors, and then a BBC documentary called The Iceberg That Sank the Titanic. So this is just a great, great set. And then also from Criterion, we have what ties for my pick of the week this week. These last two... Mark, calm down, Chinatown loon. This is a boxed set called David Lean Directs Noel Coward. And, there was supposed to be a boxed set years and years and years and years ago from MGM that contained a whole lot of great David Lean films, Breaking the Sound Barrier, Great Expectations, Oliver Twist, and there was a lot of stuff that is in the Criterion Collection, and that wound up kind of being canned indefinitely, I think, because there were rights issues. This features... 4 films, 4 great David Lean films, all of them adaptations of Noel Coward material, which is what he did initially before he got away from it and then into the Dickens stuff, and then after the Dickens stuff there were a few other things, and then eventually, the great full-color Lawrence of Arabia and Dr. Zhivago and Bridge on the River Kwai and all that fun stuff, Summertime. The movies here, the very famous Brief Encounter, which was for a long time considered the greatest film ever made. It's a beautiful film. You'll never see a better use of Rachmaninoff music in a movie. Blithe Spirit, gorgeous color in Blithe Spirit, which is really the only straight-up comedy that Lean ever made. It's about Rex Harrison plays a guy who is haunted by his deceased wife as he's trying to make a life with a new wife. Very, very funny. Rex Harrison just didn't think David Lean had a sense of humor in making that film. This Happy Breed is probably one of the negligible titles here. It's a very nice film, but not legendary in any way. And In Which We Serve is actually a pretty. This is long overdue for this kind of a release. In Which We Serve was Lean's first film, technically co-directed with Noel Coward, even though Lean really did the bulk of the directing, and Noel Coward just sort of played the war hero in it, which is essentially playing Lord Mountbatten in a pretty dazzling war recreation. So if you consider that David Lean was the genius behind the technical aspects of the film, you realize this guy was he had it going on the second that he set foot in his first film. He was already a legendary editor and knocked it out of the park. Some great stuff on here. Unbelievable extras. Audio commentary on Brief Encounter with Bruce Eder, who does tons of these things for Criterion. There's a great South Bank Show episode on the life and career of Noel Coward. I wish they had the South Bank Show that featured David Lean and Robert Bolt, which is one of my favorites. That is still elusive on any DVD. And there's a wonderful documentary here from 1971 called David Lean, A Self-Portrait, which is all about his whole career, and it gets into Lawrence of Arabia and everything else as well. It's Brian's Daughter. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. And some short documentaries on the making of In Which We Serve and Brief Encounter, as well as an interview with Ronald Neame, who was a longtime collaborator of David Lean's in his early years. This is a terrific boxed set. It is a must-have, and if you're a David Lean lunatic like I am, you will just watch this for hours and hours and hours and never get over it. All right, Mark, that brings us to Chinatown. Chinatown is a great movie. It's sort of the last of the great detective noirs because it came at a period when we weren't supposed to be making those movies anymore. And Robert Towne authored what is arguably one of the greatest screenplays of all time. And boy, this movie, I wish I could quote from it, but my favorite quote from this gives the whole movie away. Yeah. You know what that quote is?
You know what people don't remember is that this was supposed to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
There was Chinatown, and then there was The Two Jakes, which I thought was good. I liked The Two Jakes. It was 1990, directed by Jack Nicholson. And then there was, and because The Two Jakes didn't do well, they never made the third film, Gitz versus Gitz, Giddis versus Giddits.
Yeah.
They never made that. But I mean, Chinatown obviously is a masterpiece, and I did like The Two Jakes. The thing is that nothing is going to be, even when you consider that, and you get this a lot with sequels to classics, except for The Godfather, even when you realize that it will be a disappointment compared to Chinatown.
True.
I think that when you accept that, you realize that The Two Jakes is not a bad film.
True. Absolutely true. Well, this is the era when Robert Evans was the king. He was the king of producers. I mean, this was the Paramount years, 1970s. This is right between the two Godfather films. If actually this is 74, that would be the year of Godfather 2, right?
Godfather 2.
Yeah, same year as Godfather 2. So I think it was released earlier that year. I'd have to check that. But anyway, good grief, what a year. Godfather 2 in Chinatown. Could we have a year like that?
Yeah, well, this year was Transformers 3 and something. And a movie that did stuff.
And Cars 2.
And Cars 2.
Yeah.
The first Pixar disappointment.
Anyway, I mean, we can't say enough about Chinatown. It's a legendary film. And on Blu-ray, it's great. It's absolutely great. This movie was beautifully, beautifully photographed at the time in very, very grainy tones by John Alonzo. It was John Alonzo who did it, wasn't it?
Yes, and by the way, John Alonzo...
did Scarface as well.
He also did one of the Star Trek films.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. Actually, let me find out which one it was. I can't
serious?
remember. I swear to God, I can't remember which one.
Wow.
Hang on, John Alonzo.
Okay,
I'm not
we'll
kidding.
work on. All right, well, okay. Anyway, moving on. Here's the thing: the extras here are a little peculiar. The only reason I'm highly recommending this is just because this movie so deserves to be on Blu-ray. It's just unbelievable, and this is like as pristine as you'll probably ever see it. Because
Star Trek Generations.
Oh my gosh. Probably as pristine as you will ever see this movie because most of the prints floating around, they're not striking any new prints, and the prints are all very heavily faded. So if you want to see Chinatown in those vibrant, just captivating colors that it was meant to be seen, you got to see it on the Blu-ray. The extras are weird. There's a good commentary here because it features Robert Towne, who can really mumble and kind of ramble a little bit, but it's Robert Towne with David Fincher. And... that's great. Fincher is a decent talker, and he kind of keeps Towne on track, I guess. But why is Fincher commentarying on Chinatown?
Why did Steven Soderbergh commentary on Catch-22?
Yeah, it's strange. I don't know that that's a real selling point. But anyway, it's fine. The rest of it is all featurette material. But boy, that's a highly recommended pick of the week. All right, Mark, it is time for our next segment, which is...
It's Voxbox.
Hello there, waiting Mark. Alexander Burlika here once again, and this is my contribution to the Voxbox. Sorry, that was all the music I could afford. All right, so here's my question. What do you guys think about movies which like to use artificial languages? I'm talking sci-fi and fantasy stuff like Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Avatar. John Carter also did this thing recently, and now there are reports that Man of Steel, next year's Superman abortion by Zack Snyder, is also going to have a new invented language for the scenes on Krypton. So, what do you guys think about this? Do you think that such a move ever works in a movie? Do you think that it ever sounds believable and it actually... convinces you as a viewer that this is actually a, some alien race which speaks their own language, which has been developed for centuries and centuries? And in your opinion, does it ever really contribute to the story? If so, what would be your examples to prove this point? Because personally, I can barely find any. To me, really, the only case when a made-up alien language really seemed more or less believable was District 9. Other than that, to me, it always sounds like total gibberish, which the movie could have totally done without. I mean, look at the original Superman. All of the scenes on Krypton were spoken in English, and I thought they were perfect. But, alas, modern filmmakers seem to think that they know better. What do you guys think about this whole thing? And also, I have one more question, which is a little more technical, I suppose. It has to do with how some people are credited. For instance, I was rewatching Batman Returns the other day, and I noticed that in the credit bed on the special edition DVD, Christopher Walken's name is put in a rectangular frame, separate from all of the others. So, could you explain why that happens, and what is the reason for this? Much gratitude in advance, and as always, keep up the great work, guys. Oh, and P.S. Wade, the director of Letter Never Sent, is Mikhail Kalatozov. So actually, you were pretty close.
I always love it when we get stuff from Alexander because it makes me feel like our reach is truly global. He's over there in Belarus. Mark, that's on the other side of the globe.
No, he's actually in Belarus, Kansas.
Oh, never mind. No, great questions. First off, the second question. Every time I see someone's name in a box, I always kind of roll my eyes. That is one of those weird contractual things that if you can't pay somebody enough, then you'll throw them a bone and go, well, what if we put your name in a box? It so rarely happens, and it used to happen in the 70s and 80s every once in a while. But that's just there are things called and as clauses where an actor can demand to have their name appear like and Cloris Leachman and Jeffrey Tambor.
And that's called
and Al Pacino as Joe.
And that's called an and as clause.
Well, there are and clauses and as clauses. And as is one that you sort of use to put an exclamation point on how cool you are.
But you know what? I think the and as clause is the worst.
It is.
Because when you say, and Al Pacino is Shecky Brownstein, what does that mean? Who cares who Shecky Brownstein is?
I know.
Now, and Al Pacino, that makes it seem as if like you're saving the best for last.
Yeah, totally. I hear
But if it's like, and Al Pacino as some character whose name you wouldn't even know if it wasn't for that title, is lame.
Now, on the subject of imaginary languages, I'm not such a big fan. I of course, memorized all the lines in Klingon from Star Trek The Motion Picture. Tos Cha, Cha Ikus, Ris Cha, and a little bit of the Vulcan, Sociologica, Cholinar. I had it all down. But I was a nerd. I was a geek. So it didn't really make any sense. But I will say, Alexander, here's the movie you got to look into if you've never seen it. 1966. Speaking of Star Trek people, William Shatner in Incubus. Incubus is entirely in a language called Esperanto, which doesn't exist. And you got to see this thing to believe it. This movie was directed by Leslie Stevens, who created The Outer Limits. And it is Conrad Hall shot this thing, by the way. You know that? Conrad Hall shot this thing.
Awesome.
This is just a totally bizarre, cool, off-the-wall horror science fiction thing that is it's just you can't believe this movie even really exists. You watch it and you just go, really? Somebody made that? They got the money to make this? It has a fascinating history as well because it was believed lost for a very long time. So anyway. Go check it out. It is available on DVD. It has not been put into Blu-ray yet, which is unfortunate. But you got to just see it to believe it. Esperanto. It's an imaginary language, and this whole movie is in this imaginary language.
You know what?
Brilliant.
I have to say that I disagree slightly with Alexander in that I do think that at least in a science fiction realm, an imaginary language implies otherness. And something that is totally foreign to us, totally, let's say, alien to us. And to me, the language in District 9, which was just a bunch of clicks and clacks, that to me wasn't necessarily any more or less believable than Klingon or all that talk at the Star Wars Cantina. I mean, I think that's fine. I understand where if a language is almost too close to English or too close to whatever your native tongue is, that it sounds a little... like they didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, I hear you.
But, Klingon is like a language.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Mark Okrand, whatever his name is, I forgot that guy's name. Mark Okrand or something. He actually created an entire Klingon language that is a language.
It's deeply disturbing.
But I do find that in science fiction, other languages are acceptable because you're trying to create a feeling of strangeness and otherworldliness.
Yeah, that's fine.
And it's hard to do that if everybody's speaking English.
Incubus, 1966.
Although Incubus is cool.
William Shatner. And we have one more Voxbox, Mark.
Wait. We have one more.
We have one more.
It's not the Voxbox.
Gentlemen, this is Tony from Texas. I just have a question for you. I was listening to your most recent podcast, and you had spoken about how badly the Hunger Games is photographed. My question in general is, what do you see as the trend of modern filmmakers and their, I don't know how to describe it any other way, their need to wash all color out of every single movie that they make? We have these televisions that are capable of producing billions of combinations of colors, yet every movie comes out as either shot in blue, gray, or cyan. They look awful. They're horrible to watch. There's no joy in them. When you look at movies that were made some even 10, 20 years ago, they look so much better. I just have a question, what do you guys think about it? Thanks.
That's a great question from Tony Washburn, who sounds like he's on a long-haul trucker thing out there. It sounds like he was leaving that to us while he was somewhere between Tulsa and
Memphis.
Memphis, thank you. I don't know the truck routes. It's my bad. You know what? I agree completely. I think something has happened to devalue cinematography over the last 10 years or so. I mean, there's still a lot of gorgeous films. Hugo is certainly a good-looking film. It won the Oscar. Tree of Life, The Artist. I mean, there's no shortage of great cinematography, but there are a lot of films that just look like crap out there.
Well,
intentionally, and I don't understand it.
It's almost two different questions. When a director and a cinematographer meet to discuss the look of a film, it's not coincidental.
No.
If you're telling a post-apocalyptic story, maybe you want it desaturated.
Well, I have it on very good authority, actually. I did have a discussion about this with somebody who knows a little bit more about the situation, who said that it was really, as far as Hunger Games is concerned, it's strictly a matter of money. That the people at Lionsgate, they're bankers, they're bean counters, they're bottom line guys, and they had Gary Ross in a very, very short leash. So he was not able to do what he did with Seabiscuit or what he had done with his previous films, which are all really beautifully photographed films. There simply wasn't the budget to immerse it in cinematography, and he had to, stick to a very, very strict schedule and limitations of resources. But
I just want to.
But I do think you're right. Yeah.
I just want to put out there that good cinematography doesn't automatically equal beautiful colors.
No.
The picture should look the way that it should be. It should be appropriate for the story you're trying to tell.
Children of Men is not a beautifully colorful movie. It is not beautifully composed, but it's great cinematography because of the camera work, because it actually captures in a very, very vital way that kind of dystopian scenario. You don't want that to be that pretty, but it's still a great job of cinematography. So I mean, there are a lot but I just find that people don't care so much anymore because the audiences are perceived to not care. Perhaps it's so easy now to just throw something out there.
Well, also, don't forget, too, is that a lot of young audiences, they are their attention is not really on the art of the movie.
No.
They're watching the film, they're checking their Facebook, they're watching the iPad, they're not really looking at it. They're watching films just as a disposable piece of entertainment foisted upon them by the marketing.
But I'm going to make a prediction.
Studios.
I'm going to make a prediction. My prediction is that great cinematography makes a comeback, in large part because now everyone can afford these cameras. Like the Canon 5D Mark III just came out. People are now able to buy cameras. Pretty soon they're going to be able to buy 4K cameras that shoot 4K resolution. For like $5,000 or $6,000, you're going to be able to really do the kinds of, do Roger Deakins level work just with a $5,000 camera and about $800 worth of color correction software. So we're going to suddenly see, I think, a resurrection of great cinematography that really matters, just to set it apart. I think that day is coming, and it's coming soon. And the digital revolution is going to push it there.
But here's the thing, and then we'll move on. You can, cinematography, just to finish the question, cinematography is not just about pretty pictures. It's about lighting and shot composition and angles and everything that betrays character and story is all done through the cinematography. So it's not just, and I've said this to friends who have shot something on a red. They're so excited that they shot something on a red, and I said, you know what? A red camera is great, but it's not going to make your piece of crap script any better.
Yeah.
So don't worry about the red. Don't worry about beautiful pictures. Yes, beautiful pictures are nice to look at. But if the shot composition isn't there and the lighting isn't good and your script sucks, it's just not going to matter.
Totally. All right, you can send us Vox boxes at gods@digigods.com. Go ahead and send them to gods@digigods.com. Also send us emails, questions, complaints, corrections,
cures,
which Mark will need after all that time he's been spending on online dating. So we are open to anything you want to send us. That's it. This is Wade along with
Mark,
and we will see you next week. So, Mark, for people who are out there using Match.com, using JDate, who are...
I feel sad for you. I'm your competition.
Part of your community. What's going on out there this week? What should they look for?
Actually, you know what? Here's a piece of advice.
Yes.
When you're looking for women online.
Yes.
And women, they have all sorts of photographs.
Sure.
They have 2, 3, 4, 5 photographs. The worst photograph is what they really look like.